There's always something intriguing about books that have characters who speak in a unique way. Getting into the mind of a character who is capable of processing the world in an entirely new way is a true treat for anyone who enjoys reading fiction. A book like Mark Haddon's best-selling The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is exactly what one needs in such a situation. We meet this book's main character named Christopher Boone, a 15-year-old boy depicted as having autism, who views the world and makes sense of it in a unique way. Today we'll talk about how Christopher's autism affects his life. Welcome to Autism Answers. We talk about autism with the goal of sharing knowledge and bringing awareness to light. Our goal is to make videos that are easy to understand so many will be able to understand and to develop a deeper awareness of autism. With that said, we'll get into it. Mark Haddon, the author of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, never allows Christopher, the protagonist, to stray away from his unique interpretation of the world around him, which is what allows the readers to feel they're inside his head as they read the narrative. As a young man, Haddon worked with autistic individuals before he joined the teaching profession as a creative writing teacher in England. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime demonstrates his familiarity with the autistic worldview. In the novel, no character has ever explicitly laid out Christopher's condition, but we do know that he shares many of the traits associated with autism spectrum disorder that are frequently observed in people diagnosed with autism. In addition to going to a special school, Christopher has reported behavioral problems such as groaning, refusing to speak for extended periods, and an aversion to physical contact. As described by Christopher, he confesses that he didn't understand the concept of other people having minds, which means he's unable to visualize other people's emotional states and mental states, which is one of the primary characteristics of a person with autism spectrum disorder. In addition to this, other incidents as well as some of Christopher's character traits demonstrate just how much autism impacted him in every aspect of his life. In terms of autism, it is not just a disorder of perception, but it also affects a child's thinking process, their attention, as well as their perception. There are a number of symptoms associated with this disease, and the affected children always display behavior that is inappropriate for their age group as a result of the disease. The problem with autistic behavior in particular is a result of problems with social interactions, communication, and behavior as described earlier. According to Christopher's story, it can be observed that he possessed several characteristics that would otherwise qualify him to receive a diagnosis of autism, and as a result, his life was adversely affected by such issues as well. A lot of Christopher's social life is affected by autism, and he often finds himself in trouble because of his condition. It is for this reason that the police once arrested him, although he was later released without any charges. Children who have enough courage to hit a police officer are rare to find, and it's very uncommon for a child to do so. As a result of Christopher's autism, he was able to gather enough courage to hit a police officer with it. Due to the behavioral problems he had, Ed, who was the father of Christopher, did not allow him to interact and communicate with other people, especially when he was looking into the death of Wellington. In consequence, he does not have a complete understanding of not only how society works, but also what is going on around him in his neighborhood. During the course of the investigation into Wellington's death, Christopher records that he met some people for the first time, and that despite the fact that Miss Alexander lived in the same neighborhood as him, he met some of them for the first time. The most important and astonishing thing about Christopher's experience is that he was also able to collect a lot of crucial information from the same woman, who told him that his mother was having a serious affair with Mr. Shears for a very long time. It is clear from the fact that he knew the information about his mother's death at the time of her death that he was unable to live a normally prosperous life like other people in society because of his condition. He did not have a good grasp of important information, unlike his age mates. When Christopher is angry or when things do not go according to his expectations, he becomes overly emotional, and he becomes overly emotional. It tells of a day when, while looking for a certain book, which his father had hidden away from him, he stumbled upon some of his mother's letters, written after the date of her death, which were written during the time of her death. Angry at the treatment of his father, Christopher curled in a ball and cried loudly and vomited for hours until his father returned home. It's clear that such a circumstance that Christopher had more emotional issues than the normal children, and this had a profound impact on his life as he was not able to deal with life's problems and challenges in an effective manner. There was a need for a lot of care given to Christopher as opposed to the normal children, and the adults who used to live with Christopher had to become very patient after being around him for so long. Among other things, his father had a great responsibility to ensure that he was about to interact well with people. For example, furthermore, even though he was a big child, the father still had to clean him up even though he was a big kid. Now, before we continue, we'd like to ask for a few moments of your time. If you want to support Autism Answers and its mission to spread awareness about autism, please leave a like and click on the subscribe button. This would help us create more engaging content for you. Now moving back to where we left off. His life was marked by patience from adults. As an example, Mr. Shears was unable to cope with him, and the two broke up with his mother as a result. In the following days, they returned to Swindon and found a place to stay since they did not want to return home. As a result of Christopher's antisocial behavior, the study indicates he did not want to communicate with other people. Interestingly, Christopher had no problem interacting with animals despite not wanting to communicate with people. Because he was fond of Wellington, he decided to investigate the death after being saddened by its occurrence. In his note to Christopher on the discovery of Wellington's dead body, Christopher writes, "You know what a dog thinks? It has 4 moods: happy, sad, cross, and concentrating. Also, dogs are faithful and they do not tell lies because they cannot talk. As an individual who has difficulty reading social cues and values honestly, these qualities are important to Christopher." Occasionally, the autistic worldview can be disconcerting because audiences come to expect stories to contain significantly more emotion. However, this fact does not diminish its significance from the story. Rather, it amplifies it. The reader is forced to give in to Christopher's logical and concrete way of looking at everything around him. The book's tone reminds one of Temple Grandin's autobiographical account of what it's like to process the world as an autistic individual. In terms of disability image, The Curious Incident has power because the underlying theme is that Christopher's disability is less of a problem than the environment he lives in. Christopher lives in a disabling environment, surrounded by adults who don't understand his unique needs and rituals. For example, he only eats foods of certain colors. Additionally, Christopher's family conflicts are caused by adults' frustration and unacceptance of the differences. Through a set of strategic rituals, such as doing complex math problems in his head, Christopher manages his disability effectively. His family's inability to cope causes his autistic symptoms to erupt. As Christopher investigates Wellington's murder, he calls the book a murder mystery. In his quest for the killer, he sets in motion a larger mystery that affects his own life. The book lives up to Christopher's characterization. It's a compelling mystery that's nearly impossible to put down. The Curious Incident, this autistic teen confronts his deepest fears to solve a larger mystery, as well as a coming-of-age story. Having the chance to read about Christopher's exploration of a world that calls him different in a quest for truth is a great pleasure. It's also worth noting that The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime incorporates a great deal of humor into the serious mystery Christopher is trying to solve. During the reading of Christopher's novel, one cannot avoid taking a moment to consider the many metaphors that litter the English language. And when taken into consideration by a person with autism, they often become quite absurd when viewed through the lens of Christopher's constant questioning. Is there really a meaning to the phrase, the apple of someone's eye, when it comes to liking someone? Christopher would ask what apples in the human eye have to do with it. In this aspect, the book that is most fun is we see how non-disabled people can also be interpreted as odd as a result of their behavioral tendencies. And that's what we have for you today. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you want more content related to this topic, make sure to check out our channel. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.